London's skyline, beautiful, isn't it? Yet underneath some of those rooftops lies a hidden problem. Vulnerable tenants being exploited by rogue landlords. Now that problem manifests itself in many different ways, but one specific instance concerns something we call unlicensed HMOs. And HMO stands for House of Multiple Occupation, and it's a property that's rented out to multiple tenants. They're on separate contracts, but they share, say, the kitchen and the bathroom. Now the landlord needs a very specific license in order to be able to have such a property. Now, if this sounds trivial, I'm not just talking about the need for paperwork. Unlicensed HMOs are concerning for three big reasons. Number one, they are linked to some of the most dangerous living conditions in the capital today. Number two, you may all be aware that English local authorities are under extraordinary financial pressure right now. And any properties that they're not licensing, they're not getting the income for. And that's income that should be going towards supporting public services, supporting the communities that we all live in. And lastly, it's not exactly as if this is a minor issue in scale. Each London borough may have up to 15,000 HMOs, and only 10 to 20% of them are thought to be correctly licensed. So the question is there a way that we could help local authority building inspectors go around this great capital, find more of those buildings, protect more vulnerable tenants, bring in more income? Well, perhaps you can. Perhaps you can do it with data. Which leads me to the next slide, if that can be brought up. Our pilot for a London office of data analytics, which we have been working with the GLA, the Greater London Authority, whose rather remarkable offices you see in this picture. We've been working with an amazing data science team called the ASI and 12 London boroughs. And the idea behind it has been to see, can we tackle a problem that doesn't just affect HMOs, but is relevant for lots of different issues affecting this great city? And it's this. For the majority of public services, London's data is like a jigsaw that's never been put together. Every organization has their little piece, but no one can put the pieces together. Thank you very much. Take a step back and see what that picture shows. Now, that's a big problem when we bear in mind that right now, public services need to find ways to deliver more and better with less. And many of the tried and tested, the proven ways of doing that are hindered by the fragmentation of public sector data. And let me give you three examples. Number one, doesn't sound very exciting, but shared services, the idea that local authorities that neighbor each other could share resources, teams, assets, infrastructure to save money and deliver a better outcome. And if they're done well, they can deliver those things. But here's the problem. You'll find one local authority has got amazing data on its own issues, its own challenges, its own demand, but if it cannot see the scale of all those things on the other side of the boundary, if it doesn't have that data, how are they meant to have a sensible conversation with their neighbors as to whether they could do more shared services? A second issue, or a second opportunity for better ways of working, would be to intelligently coordinate the actions of different teams. And this is very relevant for some of our most complex, challenging, and expensive public services, like adult and child social care. You might end up with 30 separate teams, 30 separate organizations, all working together to support one vulnerable family, one vulnerable individual. How can they do that effectively if they do not have data on what each other are doing? And thirdly, and perhaps most importantly of all, the idea of prediction and prevention. Intervening in problems when they're small, when minimum harm has been caused, when frankly issues are cheaper to resolve. Because if you think about it, the default mode of most public services today is to address failure after it happens. Okay, we go and sort out this giant great pile of fly tipping after there's trash on the ground. I go to the doctor when I already have relatively severe symptoms. And worst of all, if you think, in some cases, domestic violence victims do not get the support they need until several very damaging incidents have occurred. Now, we know we can predict and prevent, but only if you can bring together data sets so that they can collectively point to cases of higher risk.